To give some background for this video, in my previous video I did, it was for assignment 3 or workshop 3, and this little guy right here was coded to run around the screen as a pair of pants, and you can make him go faster and slower with the shift button. This video is going to be pretty similar to my last one because it's the same program, but this time I've added several features like the coin here that's currently changing colors on the screen, and I've added a couple functions that allow you to change the music. I would like to start with my intention behind this coding program. I wanted to create an experience that allowed you to really feel the differences that color and sound make in any scenario, or just the mood, how the mood can change based off the music and the color. Alright, let's get started. So, I've added some new sound files for the music, and pretty much all of this is the same except for where I load in the music for my initial setup. I also have a coin X and coin Y position that determines a specific location for the very first coin, so it makes it easier, so you only have to run in one direction to get the coin, to get the first coin. Just kind of like, I don't know, simple, easy startup. And then once you collect the coin, it will reappear anywhere randomly on the screen, and I will show that function in more detail in a bit. So yeah, here we are in the draw function. I call in the music, the coin loop. This function was in my previous code, but I've added the so if nothing is pressed, it stops all sound, or it stops all walking sounds. It doesn't stop the music. The music is constant in the background. And it resets the counting variable for sound to 0. So the reason there's a counting variable, and that's really important, is because when you press a button, and if you're not pressing shift, R starts at 0 and it goes on a continuous loop, adding 1 to itself to infinity. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And that's important for my calling of the sound function, because it makes sure that this function, so when I call the slow steps, is only called once, because R can only equal 1 once when you're holding down a key, W, A, S, or D. The same thing for V, but V variable is dependent on the shift. So when you're holding down shift, V enters into an eternal loop that just keeps adding 1 to itself, so that the first time you press shift, V equals 1 once, and then once you stop holding shift, the fast sound stops playing and the V goes back to 0. Alright, so that was just my new system for playing sound. My old system was a little different, and sometimes it would play the sound twice, or it would like just glitch a bit more. This is much simpler and is fairly effective. I'm sure there's better ways to do it, and I'm looking at all this code. I'm sure there's better ways to do all of this, but it works for now, and I definitely do not have the coding knowledge to go back and make it more efficient without extra time, or just a lot of time that I don't have being added onto that. So these keys 1, 2, and 3 I've programmed to change the colors and the music, and so I used to have it be like where I would assign a task in the key assignment, but instead of assigning tasks, I assign just the numbers 1 or 0. That way when you press a key, you're either turning it on or off, because I find just that binary method was easier for me to work with. And again, there's definitely probably better ways than that to do it, but that was the one, just one that made sense and one I stuck with. And here's where, so when you release the keys, they equal 0 again. So just bounce between 1 and 0 when you press a key. So you've already seen the walking left and walking right. It just loops, to go over it again, it just loops through my animation. And it's dependent on the counter and the integer, which rounds the counter so that it controls the speed. That's how I have the fast and the slow, the different levels of the counter. This looks different, but it is actually, it does the same thing. It just calls in the fast or the slow sound. Same function, just slightly different coding when because it was glitching before, and this is the fix, putting fast and slow into two separate functions rather than one same function. And now for the coin loop. So this added a lot of extra coding onto the project, mostly because of this section right here, which changes the color. And so for each mode 1, 2, and 3, I have sets of values that bounce between 100 and 0, and then I input that value down here into the fill option for my ellipse. And so since the R values of the ellipse are constantly changing by just one value, it makes it fade in and out of different colors. So the one you see right now is the rainbow function, and it's just fading between 254 and 100 for like red, green, and blue. It's just bouncing back and forth. 100 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 till 250, then it subtracts 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, all the way back to 100, and so on and so forth. So this little bit right here is important because it initiates the shrinking of the circle. So when the pants are within a specific boundary, so when the position of X, which is the position of the pants, is within 50 pixels of the coin X, and then again for the Y, so pants Y is close enough to coin Y, this value Z is subtracted by 5. And so, so the initial value of Z is 100, which is like the size of the circle. So the size of the ellipse here, you can see it's 100, 100. And then, so when Z is less than 100, so as soon as you come into contact with the coin, so if Z is greater than 100 and or less than 100 and greater than 0, I'll come back to that later. It subtracts 5, draws a white circle to cover up the previous circle, and then draws a new circle of a different random color. And so when I show you this in the game, when I actually play it, it like has a rainbow of like, it gets smaller in different colors. It's quite interesting. But this if statement is important because I used to have this glitch where if I would step in or out of the circle too fast, if I went in the circle, out of the circle, and then back in the circle before it had finished getting all the way down to 0, it would like start, instead of stopping at 0 and then going back to like a new circle somewhere else, it would increase eternally, and this massive like blob of a circle would just start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and expanding across the screen, flashing colors randomly. It was just chaotic. But this fixes that, so no more issue with the large growth circle. And then so after this loop, so this will keep looping through when Z is less than 100 and greater than 0. And then when Z does equal 0, there's a new if statement. So when Z does equal 0, the coin X position and the coin Y position changes. Z equals 100, So it resets the value of the coin, so the size of the coin back to 100, and it spawns at a random X and a random Y position within a certain bounds. So the reason I have it 100, comma, width minus 100 is because I don't want to circle like accidentally like half. I don't want half a circle on my screen. I wanted it to be always within 100 pixels of the edge. Yeah, just so I never had to worry about off the edge things. Yeah. And then my final bit of coding, or the last function, I forgot that word for a bit. My last function calls in all of the music. So button 1, button 2, button 3, just 3 different types of music, and it stops all the others in there, and it changes the amplitude, just changes the volume because it's really loud. And then if you hit 0, all of the music stops, and you can play in silence if you like. So all right, enough of that. Let's get on with the game. So you can run around same as before. We can run across walls, but now when you hit the circle, it decreases into, if you can see all those different colors, that's that. That is, where'd it go? So much code. This bit. So that's this code. Wait, not that one. This one in action is the decreasing circle size. So there it is again. Okay, now for the music. So when I hit 1, notice how the color of this ball changed to, or coin, changed to black and white, and the music is kind of creepy. So as you're playing, it's kind of this interesting, like, creepy, just mysterious vibe. Like it's, yeah, just different. I'll play for a bit to give you guys more of a feel for the music. Alright, hit 0. And then so for option 2, the music is a bit more fun, lighthearted, bouncy, and the ball goes back to rainbow color just to match the music. I always feel like I'm playing a Wii game when this music's playing. Just kind of relaxing. Alright, 0. Okay, so for the last mood, the color is going to change to like a dark blue, and the music's going to be more intense, like action music, I guess. Yeah, just like more of a active. We'll see. So yeah, the colors are my interpretation of the sound. I'm sure that everyone would see different colors when they hear this music. But to me, it was more of like an electric blue and darker and mostly blue. Yeah, no, just tried to match color to sound. I'll hit 0. Pause that sound. You're good. You're good. I'll just have to add in a separate bit of audio for the very end. It just cracks me up. I was like 2 seconds away from finishing my video, and then I like overreacted. I got surprised by when you came in. I'm like, gosh, dang it! Like,
I'm so sorry. No, I know how long it is. I'm so sorry.
it's really okay.
No, I'm so sorry.
Oh, thanks for watching.